The last few lectures have been focused on games and game facilitation, but now we're going to be moving to more general leadership. For the rest of the semester, we'll be more talking about leadership on a more general basis and talking about it more, applicable to any type of leadership, any type of career and recreation. It'll be applicable to. So we're going to be focusing more comprehensively now upon leadership and its functions and styles and things like that. As we talked about earlier in some of the first lectures, leadership is not just about the leader. It's a combination of lots of things. In a class, I usually ask students, what they think might play a role, and they often talk about the participants or the boss or the organization somebody works for or the setting. Those are usually things that people think of that might influence the way someone approaches leadership. But when it comes down to it, there's three. There's three things that affect leadership style. The first is the setting or the situation. This includes what organization you're working for, whether it be public, nonprofit, or commercial. External forces, which might be things like the weather, things that are just kind of outside of you, but in your situation. Group goals, like what's the whole point of the organization or the group that you're in, the methods that are used, the type of environment that you're in. Is it open-minded? Is it open to creativity? Or is it more controlled? The next one is the group members, the people that you're working with, or the people that you're, particularly the ones that you're working over, you're overseeing, like your participants, like what's their knowledge level? Are they experienced or are they skilled at all? Do they have abilities that balance that? Are there needs? Do they have specific needs that you need to plan around? Like, for example, self-efficacy, which is one of my favorite things in recreation. Self-efficacy is the ability to taking one success in one realm of life and applying it to a success in a different realm of life. For example, the way it was explained to me was a woman took her son on a very difficult hike. And 2 weeks after this very difficult hike that he went on, he told he had to do something difficult. And he was young, he was like 4 years old. And his mom was preparing him for this difficult thing he had to do. And he said, "Hey, Mom, remember that long hike I went on that was really hard? If I could do that, I can do this." Even though this thing that he needed to do was totally unrelated to hiking, totally unrelated to recreation. I think it was going to school. Totally unrelated to going on a hike, but because he did one hard thing, he believed in his abilities to do other hard things. So maybe they need self-efficacy, or they need something else. Self-efficacy is especially important in like therapeutic recreation. Maybe you need to help them believe in their ability to do great things. I knew a man who at 12 years old was shot in the back, and so he used a wheelchair from then on. And when that first happened, he didn't believe in his ability to do anything. But because of his recreational therapist and helping him gain self-efficacy, he believed then in his abilities to do all the things that he had always wanted to do. He got to do. He just did them in a wheelchair. It was no different. So, what needs do they have? What's their experience level? Have they ever done this activity before, or have they never done it before? And do they have the task-relevant maturity? Teaching a 4-year-old to rock climb is very different than teaching an 18-year-old to rock climb. And a 4-year-old just might not be mature enough to be able to handle the experience. So those two things are outside of your control. The people the participants or your group members, and the setting or the situation are out of your control. The last thing that affects a leadership style is you. What's your knowledge, your skills, and your abilities? What are your needs? What's your experience level? How flexible are you with your style? Or do you have one that you think works and so you're not as flexible otherwise? What source of power do you have? Do you have legitimate or formal power? This is referring to the kind of power that you get from like a leadership role that you're put in, or a promotion of some kind. Or do you have your power because you give people rewards, or are you coercive? Do you have power because you coerce other people to do it? You make them fear you. Referent would be like someone who's just a leader because people naturally see them as a leader and look to them as leaders. Or are you a leader because you have some sort of skill or knowledge? And so people look to you as a leader because of that. Why you're a leader is going to affect the way that you're going to act as a leader, for sure. But those are the three things that affect a leadership style. The leader, the setting, and the group member elements. All three of those elements make up your leadership style, and it's going to change with every situation. Just like your participants are going to change, your setting is going to change, and your experience and knowledge and skill level is going to change over time. So it's a dynamic process. It really just never stops, never ends. Some basic leadership functions. Throughout your career, you're going to change what your functions might be. Some typical ones you'll go through are direct program leadership. This is actually like running games and activities. Team leadership, overseeing the people who do those things. Instructional leadership, so educating people, whether it be training or actually teaching. Counselor, pretty much in any career, any realm, you're going to be a counselor of some kind, especially in recreation, because people tend to feel more comfortable in a recreation setting because they're not posed with the stresses of work and home, or any other place that they might have things that they need to get done. In recreation, they're much more comfortable, and so they'll open up a lot. Or you've been working in outreach, a host or a guide, program coordinator, you're creating the programs, or more of the big vision people like the superintendents, the head managers, the general managers. Those are typical things you'll be doing in recreation. You'll work in all of them throughout your life probably, and probably already do a lot of those things. Some good goals to have when you're heading into leadership. Strive for excellence. The phrase, if you aim for the moon, you'll even if you miss, you'll end up among the stars, is a good phrase. If you are trying for the very best, even if you come short of that, you'll be all right. Same with the people that you oversee. If you expect the most out of them, then they will. Even if they fall short, it's still better than maybe they would have done otherwise. Earning trust, communicate the vision. If they're not on par with your vision, then they don't really understand how their activities fit into the vision. So it's important to help them understand that. Be a mentor. Be optimistic, enthusiastic. If you're not, they won't be. Be ethical, which we'll cover a little more later, every day. And keep hope alive, especially working in therapeutic recreation. People need to feel hope. And if you don't embody that hope, then they won't feel it either. So that's just some basic overview. But we're going to, as the lectures move on, be moving more into more detail on leadership.